Just beware. Pig City. There's a demonstration in the square. Pig City. The boys in blue are everywhere. Pig City. See the blacks in the park. Pig City. Hear the door slam, hear the dogs bark. Pig City. They're keeping the city safe after dark. Pig City. The Minister for Corruption's working late. Pig City. Piece of the action in race 8. Pig City. No SP here, he's ringing in a state. Pig City. The blacks at Arakoon have to go. Pig City. To keep big business on the go. Pig City. While Joe gets shares in Kamalko. Pig City. Who was the bag man? Who was the hit man? Pig City. Who were the front men? Who were the big men? Pig City. In the national scam. Pig City. Hello, is that you, dear? Pig City. What's that clicking noise I hear? Pig City. Walls have eyes and phones have ears. Pig City. Go to a dance to have some fun. Pig City. Here come the boys with their dogs and guns. Pig City. They don't like punks. Run, Johnny, run. Pig City. Who's that knocking at the door? Pig City. At 6 a.m. it must be the law. Pig City. Right, you know what we're looking for. Pig City. State of emergency for the box. Pig City. Then to show the workers who's boss. Pig City. You think you got rights, they're already lost. Pig City. They don't want to know you've heard it before. Pig City. But if you cop this lot, you'll sure get more. Pig City. Where to now from 84? Pig City.
In 1988, as part of Australia's bicentennial celebrations, Brisbane will host Expo 88. What, you ask, is an expo? Well, ideally, an expo should be a clearinghouse for new ideas and products. It should be an immense market for a better way of life, where all humanity can buy, sell and barter the technology and techniques for providing a more humane and civilised existence for all the people on the earth. Unfortunately, since the first expos in London and Paris in the 19th century, international expositions, as they are more properly called, have been used by monopoly capitalism to clear inner city suburbs of their traditionally poor worker and transient populations, to make way for redevelopment and provide the opportunity for a little real estate speculation on the fringes of the project. Many Australians watched the 1967 Montreal Expo live on early satellite TV technology, and a lot of them went to Japan in 1970 for the Osaka Expo, which spearheaded Japanese penetration of the world's electronic markets. More recently, expos have been getting a bad reputation. The New Orleans Exposition in 1984 was a critical and financial flop, and the Expo in Japan this year is hampered by organisational foul-ups which have left long queues and difficult access. We talked to Karen Cameron from the organising authority and asked her about plans and themes for Brisbane's Expo 88.
Leisure, firstly, countries such as Tonga, San Marino, the Solomon Islands can all promote their leisure and tourist industry. And with technology, we hope that countries like Japan will show us the latest in technology. And as you can imagine, leisure in games such as Pac-Man or amusement parks are enhanced by the latest in technology, which is the latest system for Pac-Man programs, the latest in Ferris wheels or merry-go-rounds, that sort of thing.
Right.
It is going very well. It's all based on our marketing program, of course, and the Expo will pay for itself. We borrow funds from the state government, but the authority is an authority by itself, and we pay back the funds as we go along. We have a number of sponsors who give us money to display our logo and to display in the Expo, and that way they get their business. And
how many people do we expect to come along to the Expo?
Well, we're expecting 8 million people, 750,000 from overseas, and the rest from Australia and Queensland. We expect people not to come just once, but to come back a few times and to make use of our Sunshine Coast and Gold Coast.
Well, the old has been cleared to make way for the new. I think the old South Brisbane offered a lot to the people of the city in many different ways. It's always been a demi-monde, the half-world of prostitutes, criminals, aboriginals, migrants and destitute who lived on the outskirts of society. I used to walk through the area regularly as a kid, and it provided a lot of the exciting events and thought-provoking experiences of my childhood. Manhattan Walk, the South Brisbane Club, the smell of the deli, the stale beer from the pubs, the tattooists, the characters. It was real life. Expo 88 means more than the end of a vibrant, exciting suburb. It's the end of an alternative power base that has always vied with the official line from the other side of the river. South Brisbane has always been the wrong side of the river, and its inferiority complex just made it more determined to be different. We're going to look at South Brisbane's history to see how it got its distinctive character and what it offers Brisbane as a whole. Let's begin with this description of the area at the point of first contact between blacks and whites. It was provided by an early convict. The jungle was a tangled mass of trees, vines and flowering creepers, staghorns, elkhorns, towering scrub palms, giant ferns and hundreds of other varieties of the fern family. There were beautiful rare orchids and wild passion flowers, while along the riverbank there were water lilies in their thousands and the convolvers of gorgeous hue. That was the state in which white people found South Brisbane, but to the Aboriginal people who lived in the area for generations, it was a relative paradise, and many tribes gathered at the Bora rings in the area for ritual celebration. We spoke with Bob Weatherall from the Foundation for Aboriginal and Islander Research Action about the significance of Musgrave Park.
And the evidence that we've got is that Aboriginal people have always been here, and it's always been a gathering place for Aboriginal people, or a coming together place. In fact, some historical records that we've shown, as in photographs, depict Aboriginal people camps just along this area here.
Right. Was it the Bora rings and meetings like that here?
Yeah. Well, if you look around, you can see sort of built-up areas, and you can see the natural ground, and that still exists here. And in some places over here, there's a Bora ring up that way, and that Bora ring leads over to another Bora ring over here, and there's another big Bora ring that goes right in the dead centre of the cricket grounds, the Gabba cricket grounds.
Right, and they linked up. I like this Bora ring, but now it's got a church on it over there.
Yeah, and there's There's also some burial grounds around here somewhere. There has been a few people buried around here as well. And the significance to Aboriginal people is that, it can be, we can look at it as a historical significance, sacred significance, or a social significance. And that's, it's a good thing for the Aboriginal people of this town here, Brisbane, to sort of know what's actually going on, what's the history of this place and that sort of thing.
And they settled it as a port, and then it became, behind the port, a rural area, sort of farming community, which supplied most of Brisbane with its small produce, like it's famous for its strawberries and fruit and vegetables and probably milk and all that sort of stuff.
South Brisbane has always suffered from periodic flooding, and a number of bridges have been swept away. The original wooden pontoon bridge was destroyed in floods in the 1860s, and the metal bridge that replaced it was swept away in the 1890s, and another bridge that was built survived to be replaced by a modern construction just before the Australia Day floods of 1974. So South Brisbane was a different place. Its link with authority on the north side of the river was tenuous at best, liable to interruption by the elements, or an act of God. The psychological separation of South Brisbane from the rest was made a political reality in the 1880s, when South Brisbane became an independent township. A keen council and the clearance of parts of the suburb after the 1890s floods meant that South Brisbane was well situated to participate in the low-level development that resulted from the arrival of the Industrial Revolution in Australia around the turn of the century. The factories and the workshops produced the need for a workforce that was housed in the cramped estates in West End and Highgate Hill. The port has a lot to do with industrialisation. Transport was easy, and there are an influx of industries right on the river, so they could use the river for access, and with that, industrialisation. The rural community, the landholders, recognised the need for housing and land development. And that became a more lucrative industry than farming. So everything was divided into smaller working class allotments, and that was characterised by very little yards and houses sitting on top of each other with no spare space in between, and smaller, narrower streets with as much housing as they could fit to make more money. With the general floods of migration into Australia, West End community is recognised as one of the places where these floods have ended up, because there is employment and cheaper housing in the numerous flats in big houses that have been redesigned into smaller units, which are cheaper than most places in Brisbane. This plaque on a remnant of that old Victoria Bridge is a fitting tribute to the ethnic involvement in South Brisbane, while also catching something of the South Brisbane mood. It's emotional, heartfelt, over the top, and with an overwhelming enthusiasm for everything. It tells of a young Greek boy who was accidentally killed while welcoming home Australian troops from World War I, and it ends in a haze of blood, patriotism, emotion and bullshit. South Brisbane earned its reputation as the wrong side of the river, with its sly grogging and prostitution, which appears to have been an accepted practice through most of the area's history. During the Second World War, when the segregated US Army occupied Brisbane, black soldiers were stationed in South Brisbane and not allowed to cross the river. But there was plenty to do on the south side. The Cremorne Theatre was a centre for vaudeville, where traditional craft was given a local flavour by comedians such as George Wallace. Some of the skills practiced there are kept alive by young Brisbane community performers such as Derek the Fire Eater and the Drippy Taps, who of course tap dance. The Trocadero was a dance hall in the area that attracted huge crowds for much fun and frivolity, as these old photos show. But all that was to come to an end, and South Brisbane's fate was already sealed in the 1920s, when the separate townships of Brisbane were unified into a city. No longer could South Brisbane maintain its distinct identity as it became part of the unified whole around the city centre. The radicalism and solidarity of the working class was isolated in South Brisbane, and as capitalism tended towards monopoly, the rugged independents of South Brisbane found they could just not compete. In short, South Brisbane was politically and economically isolated and then run down. It was at this point that the state government began to buy land in the area, and shortly after the end of the Commonwealth Games in 1982, the state government announced Expo as a fait accompli. Richard Carew from the West End Residents Action Group explains the impact on South Brisbane and on West End.
They closed two major streets carrying traffic along the river bank in Stanley Street and Grey Street, which ran parallel earlier this year, and rerouted that traffic down further into the West End community. And as a result of that, there's been a lot more traffic, a lot more noise, a lot more danger on the roads to children and to older people. Both, there are large numbers of both those groups that live in the local area.
Have we seen much change in the nature of the community as a result of, the Expo coming in?
Well, I don't think so yet, but it's a type of community which is forever changing anyway. There's a large turnover of people. Some people think that's bad. I think that's good. I think there has been increase in interest in commercial property, particularly outside the Expo site in recent times, and that's seen, for example, commercial buildings being built in residential areas in West End. I think that'll be a continuing trend, that there will be an increased interest from the commercial developers in land outside the Expo site.
That commercial interest must be affecting the land prices.
Well, definitely, yes, definitely.
It will bring an economic stimulus of $1,020 million before, during and after Expo. In the immediate area, it will certainly affect the retail end of West End. Their business will be boosted very well.
Do you think land prices will go up?
Yes, they certainly will. The land prices should go up quite substantially, and the only people I can see it affecting badly are those who perhaps rent a place and their rent may go up too much for them to afford it.
One of the questions that people have got really in the local community is what's going to happen to Musgrave Park during the Expo?
Well, Musgrave Park will stay as it is. We won't harm it at all. We'll be having things like bands playing there and perhaps a circus act or two, something like that, but nothing that'll affect the park itself.
There is those sorts of things, but what actually has happened in the last couple of years is the revitalisation of the culture and the coming together of the people again. And naturally what's going to happen is this sort of development's going to destroy any kind of culture revitalisation that's going to come together.
We're from Sydney and stuff, and we're from communities and stuff, and when we come to Brisbane and stuff, this is where we end up and stuff, because we can't hack the wider society and stuff, and I just stand over to show people like Larkin. Larkin?
Hey, one.
What's his name? All right, thanks, Cameron.
How do you reckon Expo affect you when you're coming down from Sherbrooke?
Don't
Be able to come here?
affect me really.
Yeah.
I was still drinking. Expo is shit because they're putting us out at an outskirts and stuff. They getting us out and give us commission houses and stuff.
The Expo Authority under the Expo 88 Act has the power to plan for what will happen to the site after Expo. But as with everything else with the Expo Authority, they're keeping that very secret. It's the same story with the Expo 88 and the planning for Expo itself, that no consultation with the public, and that the consultation does take place is very token. So I think the main thing about that is that we have to put pressure on the Expo Authority and the state government, who are promoting the Expo, of course, to at least to start discussing the issue. People have to put forward their opinions, and people are doing that about the site after Expo. If the property developers have their way, it's a prime piece of inner city land down there, and I think that certainly the big developers would have their eyes on it for large high-rise development. That would be a disaster, in my opinion, and in the opinion of many town planners.
During 1985, the remnants of South Brisbane were obliterated, with the exception of a few historical icons. We cannot see these events in isolation. At the same time, Trades Hall at the top end of Edward Street in the city, it was destroyed as well when unions who had been tenants for decades were suddenly moved to a new building near the Expo site. This was seen by many as adding insult to injury after the unions had suffered defeat from the state government in the CQEB dispute. The destruction of the old Labor stronghold of South Brisbane merely completed the demoralisation of the Labor movement. One is left with the sense that the city has been razed with no concern for humanity and culture that once occupied it. And that atrocity breeds a dangerous nihilism that breeds further destruction. And standing on the site, I felt I was witnessing a chain reaction that began with Manhattan Project and Enola Gay, and is slowly spreading across the world, almost part of the practice of monopoly capitalism, until it breeds so much destruction that total annihilation becomes a reality. For this nihilism to work, people must be totally alienated. They cannot have the roots of their own culture. They must feel alone in a large black universe, threatened by everything around them, threatened by a conflagration over which they have no control.
Keep trying.